Stonehenge. I mean, you know the name, right? It's that iconic silhouette, the symbol of ancient Britain. But here's the thing. For a place we all think we know, it's actually one of history's greatest puzzles.
Just think about that for a second. For 5,000 years, these stones have just stood there, on Salisbury Plain. They've watched civilizations rise and fall. It's so much more than just a cultural icon. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site for a very good reason.
And yet, even after all this time, all this study, we're still grappling with the most fundamental questions. Like, who were these people? Who had the vision, the technology, and just the sheer manpower to pull this off? And that leads us to the biggest question of them all, the one that really gets you thinking. Why? Why go to such extraordinary lengths to build this specific thing in this specific place? What was it all for? Okay, so to even begin to get a handle on Stonehenge, we've got to go way, way back, right back to the start. And let me tell you, its first version is probably not what you're imagining.
First things first, you got to wrap your head around the fact that this thing wasn't built all at once. Not even close. We're talking about a project that evolved over 1,500 years. Think about that. That's something like 60 generations of people passing this work down. This wasn't just a building site, it was a legacy.
So picture this, the very first Stonehenge, over 5,000 years ago, had no stones at all. Nope. It was this huge circular ditch and a bank, carved right out of the chalky ground. And the tools they used? Basically just deer antlers and animal bones. It's incredible.
And right from the get-go, its purpose seems pretty clear. Excavations have found the cremated remains of at least 63 people, men, women, and even children. This wasn't just any old burial ground. It was the largest Neolithic cemetery in all of Britain.
You know, the leading archaeologist on this, Mike Parker Pearson, he puts it perfectly. He says the site was conceived as a final resting place. This idea, this connection to the ancestors and the afterlife, it seems to be baked into Stonehenge's DNA right from day one.
Then, fast forward about 500 years, and everything changes. The first stones finally show up. These things we call bluestones. And here's where it gets wild. Each one weighs a couple of tons, and they were brought all the way from the Preseli Hills in Wales. That's a journey of over 150 miles. We're talking about a truly mind-boggling feat of prehistoric engineering.
So you have this early version, right? The cemetery with the bluestones from Wales. But that was just the warm-up act. What came next was an engineering project so ambitious it's almost hard to believe.
25 tons. That's the average weight of one of the big boys, the sarsen stones. And some of the largest weighed up to 50 tons. I mean, try to picture moving the equivalent of 30 cars, but you have no wheels, no engines, no cranes. The amount of pure human power required is it's almost impossible to get your head around. And they didn't just find these things lying around. They had to quarry them and then haul them from a site 16 miles away. Can you just imagine it? Hundreds of people, with nothing but ropes, sledges, and pure determination, dragging these monoliths across the rolling landscape.
But this is where the real genius kicks in. They didn't just plonk the stones down. No way. They shaped them. They carved these incredibly sophisticated interlocking joints, like a mortise and tenon you'd see in fine furniture. They were basically using advanced carpentry skills on solid rock. It was totally revolutionary.
So all of this, the scale, the organization, the sheer ingenuity, it just begs the question, who were these people? Who were these master builders of Neolithic Britain?
Well, thanks to modern science, we actually have a pretty good idea. DNA tells us the very first builders, the ones who dug that ditch, were descended from the first farmers in Britain. Their ancestors had actually migrated all the way from what's now Turkey, bringing agriculture with them thousands of years earlier.
But then, the story takes a huge twist. Around 2500 BC, right in the middle of the main construction phase with those giant sarsen stones, a whole new group of people arrive from mainland Europe. We call them the Bell Beaker people. And this wasn't just a few new families moving in. We're talking about a massive population shift. Within a few centuries, their DNA almost completely replaced the existing gene pool, a 90% turnover. So get this, the people who started Stonehenge were not the same people who finished it.
Okay, so we're starting to get a picture of the who and the how, but that still leaves us with the biggest mystery of all, the why. What on earth was the point of this colossal undertaking?
And yeah, there's no simple one-size-fits-all answer here. The truth is, it probably served a bunch of different purposes over its long, long history.
But archaeologists have kind of narrowed it down to three main theories. It was a celestial observatory, a place for healing, or part of a vast ritual landscape.
Let's start with the most famous one. The main axis of Stonehenge is lined up perfectly with the sun. You've got the sunrise on the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, and the sunset on the winter solstice, the shortest. This makes people think it was basically a giant prehistoric calendar, a way to track the seasons, which would have been absolutely vital if you're a farming society.
A second theory suggests Stonehenge was a center for healing, sort of like an ancient Lourdes. A lot of the skeletons found buried there show signs of really debilitating sickness or injury, and we know from chemical analysis that they weren't local. They traveled from really far away to be there. And get this, some of those Welsh bluestones actually have these weird acoustic properties. If you hit them, they ring like a bell, which people might have believed gave them magical or even curative powers.
And the third theory is really cool because it kind of ties everything together. The idea is that Stonehenge, built from everlasting stone, was the domain of the dead for the ancestors. It was then connected by a ceremonial avenue and the river Avon to a massive nearby settlement built from wood at Derington Walls, the land of the living. So a journey between the two would have been this deeply symbolic procession, a passage from life into the realm of the ancestors.
And this is a great reminder that the Stonehenge we see today isn't exactly what it used to be. I mean, it's changed so much, not just thousands of years ago, but even in recent centuries. It's seen decay, stones have fallen, and it's been restored multiple times. In a way, our understanding of it is constantly being rebuilt, just like the stones themselves.
In the end, Stonehenge remains profoundly mysterious. It feels like every time we find one answer, it just opens up a dozen new questions. It stands as this powerful testament to the ingenuity of its builders, and it's a timeless puzzle that just dares us to keep digging for answers. The greatest secrets? They may still be buried, just waiting to be found.